0 of the supplementary series for the SRU research rotation. I'm Khalifa, and today I have with me Dr. Abdullah Al-Khani.
How are you today? Thank you for the invitation.
Pleasure to have you here, Abdullah. All right. So in this short presentation, we're going to discuss a few things. So we're going to discuss the current project of the research rotation and how the students can get involved into that project, as it's the plan is to take the students from the 4th year
To the 5th year.
help them do the proposals, and then let them join the 5th year project as a cohort study.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to speak about a few things. So remember last year we did an audit. So the our findings were that there were multiple projects in the research rotation, and there were certain drawbacks to having multiple projects.
So the majority of the project in the previous years were of a cross-sectional nature. And another majority was clinical trials, and in the last couple of years we started to do some bibliometric studies, which is essentially review papers. So the problem is with the cross-sectional studies, there was problem with project completion and publication, because there were multiple projects and the topics on which those projects were based were not very relevant for the literature. That's why we were facing a lot of trouble in the publication process.
There were also a bit of clinical trial ideas that did not work out.
Yeah, we have undergone, I don't know, 5 or 6 clinical trials.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of them made it to the finish line.
For the bibliometric studies, they take a long time, so they usually do not finish with the research rotation. They tend to not finish with the research rotation like at a time of 9 months.
Yeah, and additionally, though, they lack the important aspect of field work.
Yeah, true.
Because they are only based on computer work.
So they won't be able to do the data collection and data cleaning and statistical analysis.
Absolutely.
Right. So the solution that we came up with was, with the help of the research department, was to make one big project. So that was the current...
yes, that's exactly what we did last year in the 4th year, now the 5th year project. We did one mega project, and under which there were small sub-projects, but all under the same umbrella.
True. So let's speak a little bit about that. So the main idea was, as you can see on the slide, was the prevalence aspect of the diseases and the mental conditions of migrant.
Yeah. So it was essentially a epidemiological screening or surveying study to come up with a baseline prevalence figures for those conditions in that particular population, which is the migrant health.
So like you said, so this is a baseline for future projects.
Yeah.
So the important aspect here that the current 5th years are going to do this cross-sectional study is going to extend, because they're going to collect the contact data of the participants. And the current 5th years can build up on that project with their own projects on this population. So they'll have a population of around, I think, 2,000 people.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah, and they can build up their research upon this population. So they'll have a course, so they'll have an even better study than previous batches.
Yeah.
All right.
And it will be an ongoing thing. So the next year, the year after that, it will be a mine of data that will forever be there.
Sure. So let's go into the important part. I think that's why the students are watching this.
Yeah, I think they have it on Sunday or Monday, or when?
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, so the writing a proposal.
All right. So the question that they'll probably have in mind is, what should they write in their proposals? So most of the research ideas, they were rejected. And the thing I want the students to realize is that we're not rejecting the ideas per se, we're rejecting them as ideas for the research rotation. Because the research rotation is a limited time. That does not mean that they cannot resubmit these ideas as proposals after they've learned how to write proposals, and do them by themselves or using other clinical supervisors.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So the options for this current project that you need to submit on Tuesday is, you either have a new instrument to investigate in the cohort that we just mentioned of migrant occupational population that we're going to discuss in a few seconds, or add a new migrant population. So if you think of another population that we didn't originally think of, you'll see that we included 6 migrant populations. If you don't like them, maybe add a new one, right? Or maybe do both. So let's look at the proposal.
Yeah, so that was the actual proposal of that project, which was submitted to the Qasim Ethical Committee and it was approved.
Oh.
So we will go through that proposal. You will have to do something very similar. So we start from the first page. This is the investigators. So you will list the names. Probably you will have to mention that Dr. Najm, who's the head of the research unit, and you can mention your names as a research assistants or co-authors.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's self-explanatory. I don't think there's anything to explain here.
So one addition that they need to make is probably they'll need to make a column over here. I think it's included in the template that they received. So they need to put their student ID so that we can identify them.
Yes.
All right.
So this is the first page. The first page will be the cover page and it will include only that information.
Right. So for the second page, we have the background or rationale. So this does not need to be as lengthy as this one. This is a big project, so that's why we have a lot of information here and a lot of literature review was done over it in this project. What you need to do is for the first paragraph, you need to go global. So what's happening on a global scale, and then you need to simmer down to the level of Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries specifically. Okay,
Yes.
so they have a high population of migrants. So you simmer down from the international landscape and go to the Gulf.
To the national.
Yeah. What will help them is the meta-analysis that they reviewed.
Yes. So the meta-analysis you guys did will be of a great help for you to complete this literature review or the background information. And of course, you need to focus on the instrument and or the new population you are aiming to add. So it is essential to mention that specific population here, whether it's a new population or you want to investigate a new instrument. You have to touch on that in the background. What is the knowledge regarding this? So you can start from what's known, what's there about migrant health in the international spectrum and the national spectrum, and what is known or not known regarding your special instrument.
All right. So to add to what Dr. Khani said, usually in the last line of the introduction or the background or the rationale, we write the objective of the study. All right. So that's a good tip right there. Then we go over to the research aims and objectives. So this is basically the research question.
Yeah, that is the research question, exactly. So in this case, again, it is very extensive here because this is a large project. But for you guys, you can just very crisply mention directly what's the research question. Like we want to investigate that thing in that population, for example.
I think they're well trained in this, especially this batch. So they know how to use PICO and...
yeah, so this is like what comes into play, the PICO on all of those
all right.
things.
So mainly focus on the primary question. If you have a secondary question, add it over here.
Yeah.
And then throughout the year, we're going to modify the proposal together with the help of the fellows and so on. Right, so next is the literature review part. So they need to pick a population first based on the research question.
Yeah, so you will now, what we mentioned in the background is a general information. Now we will dive into the details and it will be more tailored to your population or the instrument you have used.
All right. So pick a population. The population that we used here are 6. So you have the auto repair workers, the neighborhood cleaners, the construction workers, the restaurant workers, I think also poultry factory, and finally the agricultural workers. So each of these has a specific group of students from the 5th year that are handling this project, and they're collecting a sample on it. The bigger sample of this population, like we mentioned, it was 2,000, but the individual samples, I think around 384.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes. All right. So the students can either use these existing populations, and make new instruments to investigate, or find new populations that they are interested in studying. Okay.
Yes, and you can just think about if you want to have some biological information, for example, lipid profile or something like that. We can add this also. It could be its own project.
Yeah.
And that, of course, that population in the migrant health.
Okay, so the objective for next Tuesday is just to give us a proposal draft. So the parts that we just discussed, research question, literature review, and the background, these are the important parts. For the methodology, you're going to need a little bit of help if you have not done a proposal before. So you can give us a rough draft of what you think the methodology will be, and you can know this by looking at the papers that you used in literature review. Yeah. So we're going to help them with the sample size calculation if they want to make a new population.
Like the methods, it's not that much
different
important at this stage. What we need to know is what is the instrument you want to add, and is it important or not?
True.
Do we need to take the time and the effort and the resources to actually study it? Regarding the methods, we can handle this. We can handle this. It's fine. I think we can give them that proposal. They can take a look on the methods. They can have a rough idea on how will they, like if you're planning on adding a new population, okay, you need to mention to us. You need to tell us how are you planning to approach that population. We need to know that. If you are not, you're just interested in adding a new instrument. Yes. So what's the instrument, and how is it administered, and all of that information will be mentioned in the methods. So regarding the sample size, sampling strategy, this is not really
the focus of the current proposal.
Yes. What we need to know now, what is your idea, and is it worth going forward?
All right. So after you've done the methodology, this ethical approval and confidentiality will come later on. So that depends on if you have done the Kirk approval and if the research unit approves it first, and then we'll go into the step later on at the end of the research rotation for this year.
Yeah, what I think is we will probably have something similar to what we had this last year, where we will compose everything into one mega proposal and it will be approved for everyone.
Yeah. So the mega proposal will include the current students' proposals made into one, so that
one major
they can perform the cohort study.
So the most important thing now coming up in the methods is the assessment. So we are in the process of collecting those information currently. But other than those information, what is the new thing you want to add? What is your novel idea? Here you have to expand. You have to mention whether it's a new instrument, biological data, whatever.
If they want to perform blood tests, for example.
Yes, so mention
something
specifically
new.
What do you want to assess. This is what is very important in methods.
So the current fifth years, they're doing an annual checkup. So that would be the baseline for the cohort project. They're doing the annual checkup for all the participants, all the 2,000 participants.
Yes.
And then for these students, the fourth year students, when they come, they will have the previous data, which they can build up upon, or make their own new data.
Yes.
Right. So we can.
So here we're just mentioning the instrument we are using in that project. You can follow suit with a similar pattern.
Yeah. All right. So I think the final parts are like the analysis plan. So we'll go over this throughout the year. We'll give you some sessions throughout the year, and we have discussed with Dr. Saqib today, and they're like a bonus. There's a bonus of 10 points for those who attend these sessions. It will not decrease from your marks if you do not attend, but there are two benefits here. One, that you'll be able to handle statistical analysis on your own, which is a very useful skill for a physician. And two, you'll get obviously the 10 bonus points for your research rotation.
Yeah.
So the final part is the bibliography. I would recommend using programs such as EndNote. I think multiple students already know how to use EndNote by now. And if they don't, there is a course, I think, within a few days.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, by the, I think, support club. So they're going to explain it as well. So maybe attend that. All right. I think we'll only need to go over one last slide on the presentation, which is what is satisfactory for the draft. So a research question on one or both of the previously mentioned goals. So either a new instrument to test or a new population that you want to make the same research in. And then you need an appropriate literature review on the target population of migrant workers. You can use the same population that you use or pick a new one. Both are fair game. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullah, for joining us.
Thank you.
That's very helpful.
Beautiful session.
Yes, let's hope the students find benefit from it, inshallah.